What is programs?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yes.
Power on. Bluetooth mode.
Hello. Oh, right there. Ricardo.
다시 들리겠나?
Oh, just delay.
다시
다시
들리겠다.
들려요?
다시 들려버리라. Hello, everyone.
지금 될 랭게면도 파신딘 투마토나 저거지라. 거기도
거기도 계실라. 알레 랭님메나 딜라 좀 가시도.
언들도 언들디 블루투스 좀 투마토나 게면더라.
알레 미메나 디르.
나서 나서 아니 상마다시 딜레 디니 가장 아는 좋아지라서 때 좋아지 요래 때 너무 좋아지 당시에
Ale lasso. So, hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session. We're going to begin with a question that was left over from yesterday. I believe it was Pari's question, who said, "Can Geshe-la explain emptiness of emptiness?" If I remember correctly, right, Pari?
Yes, thank you.
Geshe-la, 동반이 다 베체티 체와디 치단 딘사부 제제야 카보티스레 이나 롭산다티 동반이기 가르세기 도사.
좋다가나로
다가난지
라서 동반이 라야디 가서 지당 동반이 라야디 추 봄바 가와라 소비 추 가른듯이 이나야 디 그런 아니 덴버 마투발라나레 랑우니 마투바 람나레 그런 지속도 마투바세나레 디 가르시디 디 타하라 마투바 그런 동반이 라고라 진짜 동반이 때야 진짜 동반이 때야 아니 그 가르래도 아니 랑우니 트바렌도에 아니 랑우니 마투바렌도에 제바이나 아니 티 코나야 동반이 코나야 아니 랑우니 마투바 데브라 마투바레스 총사 돈이 아니 데브라 마투바 돈이 랑우니 마투바 때 동반이레스 또 뒤뒤체나 들이지래.
Yes, sir. So first, when we're asking about the emptiness of emptiness. So let's talk first about emptiness. So what is emptiness? When we take any type of phenomena, like for example, a cup or a pillar, any type of thing, right? A pen, whatever. The fact that let's say a cup, right? The fact that that cup does not exist truly, or does not exist from its own side, or does not exist independently, that lack of independent existence, that lack of inherent existence is the emptiness of the cup, right? So the cup is empty of inherent existence. But then we can ask ourselves, well, what about the emptiness of the cup? Does the emptiness of the cup exist inherently or exist truly, independently? And once we analyze this, we come to realize that also the emptiness of the cup or any other phenomena, but in this case, the cup, also does not exist from its own side. It doesn't exist inherently. So the lack of inherent existence of emptiness is the emptiness of emptiness. And that is this, let's say, the brief answer. Lasso.
다신다 그런 다사의 취신 가야라지라 땐이 주바마도 수치라 때 먹고에 라와 저야지 싸니니 요 말에서 랑문이 주바 따라와도 주바 시기도 텔라 라와도 주바 디니텔라 초치니 종나는 뭐 타니 용에다 텔라 Demba Trubata, Ramuni Trubata, Yatapa Trubata, Tuntambar Trubasa, Dini Mambu Dute, Tindita, Tatini Tanya Madara, Tondan Chibari, Setu Tamalo. Ani, Tini Yang, some of the Chikardos in a Tutup to Trubasia, Tutup to Trubseti, Susu Tuba General, one we got it, Tutup Trubate, Oti, Chu current Chilina, Tanya Meba, the Yomaris, the Mebati. Korangicho nil tatu road, the netan tatu road, the nil tatu tonis in a tires.
So when we're talking about emptiness, we're saying that there are no phenomena. There's no phenomena with an established basis, meaning an existing phenomena that does not exist interdependently. They all exist interdependently. That means that in order to exist, they necessarily depend on other things. They cannot depend by themselves. Nothing exists independently from everything else. So we say that when we say that a phenomena, for something we say like the inherent, we talk about inherent existence or existing from its own side or existing truly or existing ultimately. All of these are just different terms that refer to the same thing, to an inherent existence, which is an impossible, a type of existence that is impossible. Then oh, gonda Geshe la koma son kare sunyimbe. Sebo paru la kiran ke tites che do itu yange sonrona.
That's when two young jay your ways.
Ale laso. Tene chikdu. So in relation to this, then Rika questions, I guess that means karma is also empty. Tendre yina le ta le gyunre yoreba. Le sayate yang ranshingi madruba revés. Tony ki ranshin revés.
Jimdi inari tamatsu kaabumba din toya ngubo content chi inaya sama chikpare kanisana ranguni matubachi mato ani ranguni tubasta tsani niyoma ranguni matubare inaya ti kurang le jimdi kurang toni reve nilu tatu reve sena ati mares.
So yes, the answer to this question is yes. Karma is also lacks inherent existence, and this is the case for every single phenomenon. There is no phenomena whose nature is not emptiness. So all phenomena lack inherent existence. This doesn't mean that karma is emptiness. It means that its ultimate nature is emptiness because it's empty of inherent existence. Lasso. Do you have any more questions in relation to this?
Does it mean that when we realize emptiness, that all our negative karma automatically dissolves?
Kesi tanda le saya di ranshingi madruba yina ngazo tomba ni ngunsun du dona ngaranzu kansa bele di mebacha do yurebe.
So, tin tu yo mare ti ko karisana ranguni matubala ya ti tanda korong ngosum de tonare matonare kora tanda korong katu ina koranguni matuba rede yore le jimre ina re kaapumba ina re kari ina sama ranguni matuba rede yore ti ngara to hakko mago jida ngosum ke shema shi keja jire shina ya tagara korong ani le jimre tagara aja ne digre yo digre inti tinga 아니 돈이 라운이 맞추바디 야타가나 요래 아니 메바 잘 말했어.
Well, that's not the case because karma, whatever it is, whatever phenomenon exists, now lacks inherent existence, right? Karma now lacks inherent existence, and cups and pillars and whatever, the computer lacks inherent existence. It's just a question of understanding, of us being able to understand that it lacks inherent existence or not understanding. So here we're talking about our own understanding, not about the nature of the phenomena. The nature of the phenomena is lacking inherent existence, which means that even after we understand its lack of inherent existence, so once we understand the emptiness of inherent existence of that phenomena, let's say karma, the karma will still remain the same because karma has always been lacking inherent existence. Lasso.
So,
If there are no more questions, then we'll move on. Lasso.
가상가리 띵아토디 니뉴니슈데 뉴모나니 자위 뉴모다 니위 뉴모데 니위 뉴모 니슈데 아주 빠르지는 망우든지 지야든지 이제 디릭티 갈치도나스
Ale, So yesterday there was a request to go deeper into the 20 secondary afflictions, to the 6 root afflictions and the 20 secondary afflictions. So we're going to go through the 20 secondary afflictions.
어나서 다틴 조나 아니 다 니뉴니슈도 마 장카 잡샤나다 디나마 답데고도레샤 아니 초와 싱도다 코든 좀바 센도다 차바데 측바센도 아니 차도세 세르나센도 유다 어요다 야바다 남체다 오참메바다 체메바 아니 무바센도 고바센도 마데바센도 레로 아니 밤에 쟁이 시시마인바 아니 나바라 인와세요 파 갑도 마타가 잡잖아 니슈데 데레샤스 티체 그 제라된 아는
나 단다란제 değil.
That's
So Geshe has just listed the 20 secondary afflictions. I think I can find them online. Just let's see. Ale. Maybe here. Okay, I have a text, but it's not. Okay, I'll read them from this text. Maybe we'll have to fix the translations. So there are 20. The first is resentment. So if you want to write them down, or otherwise I can share the PDF I found online. So the first one is resentment. The second one is the second one is resentment. The first one is Toa. Toa is like aggressiveness. Like it's a notch up from anger. I don't know how you would translate it, but it's a bit further up from anger. So it's a bit like being aggressive. The second one is resentment. The third one is concealment, also translated as hypocrisy. The fourth one is spite. So it's associated with anger. The fifth one is envy or jealousy. The sixth one is miserliness. The seventh one is pretense. The eighth is dissimulation. The ninth is arrogance. The 10th is cruelty or violence, actually is violence. The 11th is shamelessness, and 12th is non-embarrassment. 13th is mental dullness, I think is laxitude. 14th is excitement, mental excitement. 15th is faithlessness. 16th is laziness. 17th is heedlessness. 18th is forgetfulness. 19th is lack of awareness, non-conscientiousness. And the 20th is distraction. So these are the list of the 20 secondary mental afflictions. That's all?
So that dinage tambo choice get risha. Choice Chidan Karirin do the ngason docha shedang control songone control chart to bada control the jeli chikpa de yimba kansila ani kol mandai nabakar do control se dia dingni ya ngato control ngajer se jor don tawi nyomo banana control ta ngaje da maru ba se jora
No.
tipuki karsena tambo ya sim dingni ya ani madya chini ya choyo ai chowa se control se kongni chowa 단단히 가른 도에서는 밀라 초아정디 단단히 간을 파 알이 디비 켄체네 아니 밀라 샬라 마노바 체고도 삼비가 나르심비 아니 디간을 셈바티 디니 질레온 텔 초아세 이야데 컨트롤다 차토바 제리 다오 지레스
Lesser. I've just sent you through the Zoom chat a PDF where you have the 51 mental factors. And within this 51 mental factors in the bottom number 3, this is actually an FPMT PDF of the basic program. And here I'll use this sheet, so I'll read from it so you can have the same sheet and look at it. So the first one we have, I translated it as aggressiveness. Here it's translated as belligerence. And it says that belligerence is a malice that wishes to harm by striking and so forth, when any of the 9 bases of malice abides nearby, and it is involved with anger. So here, as it says, a belligerence arises from the root mental factor of anger, and anger has this component of wishing to harm the other person. However, belligerence takes it a step further and in wishing to harm the other person. So it's a very active wish to harm the other person, hitting the other person or harming in some way the other person.
데니 질레세도 데니 가서 지당 디캅들이 셰고지다 컨트롤 단다 컨트롤 제한의 컨트롤 싸워샤니 디담 예와체니 아니 디야 계셔주 니니 녀모 받들라 초와시게 데니 용거 바당 아니 컨트롤 제한의 지당 계야가 아니 시도지들라 군니 너싱베 시구지 심마다와 군지 흉고나래 다도 중원바토나 디네 송고래 시구 시구데 카르레세온디 알레 달라 노버 체소데 마랑라 노버 체송세야 치 ngalo noba tanda chegi du se ga ni maoba noba chesa re se ga shek sumchi songore digala yanjo shek sum de kar re se na so ga ni la ra ora ni se na hagu dan nangmi da yana so topo cha chimbu shibu dini dindi la noba cheso noba chegen du se da noba cheban yu du se maoba noba chesa re dindiga simadawa sum chuche dini yanju sum de gardu sidi ya ani garsidi soso jawu yera magasa mi soso da jawu dindila ani yang ko pento du roba chigindu sami ani yang roba tanda chigindu maoba ko chesare roba ani tanda chesimbare shase odindi ti sum le jane mada sum chini odi shi gudela teni 아니 가르치나 가두이나 컨트롤하야 겐도 수도 또sol라 테니 계기 요래서 딜라 테니 단다 초아디야 또sol라 테니 균이 용고 그래서 또sol라 테니 계기 요래서
So as we mentioned yesterday, secondary afflictions are called like that because they arise from the main afflictions, right? So therefore here belligerence arises from anger, and there are 9 bases of anger, let's say 9 triggers for anger, and also therefore 9 triggers for belligerence. These 9 triggers, or 9 traditionally called 9 bases, are the following. So first is the first trigger is in relation to the self. So the self is I was harmed. So the thought I was harmed is the first trigger for anger. The second one is I am being harmed in the present, second trigger for anger. And the third one is I will be harmed in the future is the third trigger for anger. Then the second object is a loved one. So a friend, a family member. They were harmed is the first trigger. They are being harmed is the second trigger. And they will be harmed is the third trigger. And then the third object is an enemy. So it would be an enemy was benefited by someone, an enemy is being benefited by someone, and or an enemy will be benefited by someone are the 3 triggers in relation to the enemy. So it's 3 triggers in relation to the self, 3 in relation to a loved one, and 3 in relation to an enemy. And these in total make the 9 triggers of anger.
So tindi chila teni ani tawi tambo kongcho la antile teni choa kibat mishamba la nobar che sambi choa kia choa singa tindi chire shaas ta teni ti chima te nipa te kari tsena kunzin reshan kunzin kunzin siya te kari chen do se de kartaki kongcho ke shaya chiwa kongcho we gyunde kongcho ke shaya gyunde pa motoni gyunde pa gyunde motoni ani tela nene che go sambi ga Nobody susura nobody chena did control that control jinda ma kati ta matani juni zinni kon zin sigdo zinni any cartel cargo the canoli chego something zin dia de la kon cigarettes.
The second secondary affliction is called resentment. And resentment in Tibetan, if we look at the etymology of the word, it has kon zin, kon of kontro, meaning of anger. It's the first syllable of anger. And the second syllable is zin of zimba, which means to grasp. So this has the connotation of grasping to anger. So therefore, not letting go of anger. So this is resentment, not letting go of some anger that we felt due to have been harmed, for example.
Tindi jila karsi dose na tanda choa tresha ta tichini mato kar dose ne chapa siya tresha chapa siya de susugo ani chi karin de ji so sha ne nipa kar so sha yo na tindi so sha zuma she sha yo na kar sha ne ti sha na te ma be ni chempala ma she ni ma be ba de chapa si re be ba ani tu su so lu da nga ki ni ni kyu ni ba de kyu tindi ma be ba de chapa de be ba si re.
The third secondary mental factor is concealment. Concealment means to hide. So to hide something that we've done that we feel was a fault, that we've done wrong, we hide it, we conceal it, because we don't want other people to know something that we've done, and it's normally in relation to something that we've done wrong.
Tele chapa singdo. Teni tsikpa siya de, ani kari tsikpa siya ji, tsikpa sa siya de, kongpo dan drabu drabu diyan tsikpa siya de, drabu drabu jire siya, kari siya de tsikpa la din dina lama, shen ji rang la nipa lingwan, nipa tindi siya wangdu, nipa ti, ani, ti nipa ti, ti nipa da nyo shen dan towi senpa mebar, 아니 가르치기도 초와다 콘텐지 왕기 아니 신티비 삼바 직접으로 마운도 바라 데리 손세 가르치기도 세디 직발라 원디 소소라 노반도 오치야다 직 가르도 딘이 쳔체베 딘디 똑기 아니 다 소소 논트도 쳔도 딘디라 아니 샴바가 어큐 딘디 쳔손 딘디 쳔손 딘디 원이 쳔나 가르치 거리스나 타가라 레게 노르샤 치스니 원래 지네 판 아니 토샤 체구여데 팀 메체바 마세 티칸레 콜파 치 치스보나다 렌티디 파 렌 첸도 거디니 도바 셈바치라 치파사시도 치람라 치파사기 둘라데 치다 콘로자 드라우니 콘로다 차토바 드라우레샤.
The fourth mental factor is spite. And spite is very similar to anger, is very, very close to anger, but it's in relation to speech. So here it defines spite as a wish through the force of belligerence and resentment, so the previous two mental factors, to speak harsh words out of ill will to another who has pointed out a fault, and it is involved with anger. So here it's very close to anger, and it makes us hurt someone, want to hurt someone through our speech.
Tini chupadan chato reshan chato la de nyenkur la chapi wangi soso chik chala da nyenkur da kari ina tindi la chapi wangi ani kari chik do se na shengi puto la shengi chik chisha de la ani shengi chik yoden puto toba de locho puto toba kari ina tindi la muso ni ani semba ding ni chuk shangi sin chuk dengi semba tindi chila chato sing do se.
The fifth mental factor is jealousy, and jealousy is a mind that is not able to tolerate when someone else has things that we wish for. So when someone has good things, nice things, valuable things, we do not tolerate it, we do not like it, and therefore we feel jealous.
아니 dumbat senarisha senaladi susu ta sa da kwando jala karina tela chabi wangi 아니 샴발라 파 지 당도 자니 당 문도니 아니 가디는 당부지는 준den게 지 디시나 지 테로체라는 자니 테모데 세나지니 디 톨란도 그래 지 지그레 삼니 준den게 딜라니 세나로 세나.
The sixth mental factor is miserliness, and it's defined as a tight holding onto possessions without letting them go through the power of strong attachment to gain and honor, and it is involved with attachment. So here is basically not wanting to let go of that which we possess, and is wanting to keep it and not to give it away.
다 좋아서 대마 세나지 드니 규세야 되셔 규 규세한테 가르는다 님골라 차비 왕기 소소라 지기 사한테 님고 치자라 딘데 가르가리 대체베 텔 차비 왕기 아니 가르치기도 전에 띠라야게 돈달라 소소로 지 여대 매나양 지 여대 친구 인도도 지니 민고고 다야고 어딘디 그 삼로 지니 지라 규세게 저 요 규세기도 아치다는 요 규세 니가 냠냠들 되래 단데 지다 규세디 코란 따위 어딘디 지레샤.
Then we have deceit, and deceit is a pretension and having good qualities, whereas one does not, through the force of strong attachment to gain and honor. So this is when we feel attachment towards others. We want to have a good reputation among others to say good things about us. We kind of pretend to have all these good qualities.
디오드나 요데는도 남저 요규데 요데는 지랍들이 온데 저 요지 타고 미 요지 타고 요래라디 어때 요데래샤 요시디 가르랑 도르잖아 딱이 인연골라 차야다 이 어디 롱킬라 차다 찍버자 딜리 차비 왕기 가르치 두세나 소소로 니여야
Geshe-la,
니바
kamachi tanda kugimindu
알레로소
tra pet me bachas.
알레
Ole dalleson.
어라소 어떤데 규드레서
Gyudi raison yo.
어또 요디양 다디 규나시 랑기 님kurtinida karina tinile chapata chigbarja di wangi karichi dusena tagi sosolo yote mena yondo chiade taridi katire sosolo yobi nibade shembala hamogo achine bea chiade o dile ane oyosi dus oyochi dus.
Then after deceit, we have dissimulation, and the dissimulation is a wish to hide one's own faults from others through the force of attachment to gain and honor, through the force of attachment to gain and honor. So it's the wish to hide one's own fault, is we want to look good before others. We want to have once again a good reputation. So we try to dissimulate our faults.
tinita gyapa siadrise gyapa le de ngachu yani gyapa de sha gyapa chati ngachu ya pogi gyapa chila gri tinda ko karcha dusena sosolo nemeya soso subuchi nagme bata sosolo longkyon da tindi chi mambo ji yobata tindi le tene chi rayo na tindi chi ya sosolo jo pombo da tindi ko korsan da rayo na tindi ko wange soso ya semba ya kangni tombo do chani be o dele sim dingni ya counting it roji chade dele gyapa si or di karsena ti yang lo tis ko chidang yabu yena yabu re samne de chogo de yang tis ko tes chele geni yang ko o de chan ro tu yena yang peri sha gyapa cha se de jo dele ji gyapa si ya ko de to na ba je nga ge rang ma yin ke o tini chi re sha.
The next mental factor is haughtiness, and haughtiness, it says it's defined as a joy and mental happiness upon seeing one's own good health, youth, signs of long life, or contaminated success. So here it's not joy and mental happiness upon seeing one's good health, because this is a good thing, right? But it's more like, it's like a sense, it's kind of very close to pride, in the sense that we get inflated with like satisfaction. We feel proud, but not in a good sense, in a bad sense, like we're like full of ourselves. because we're so young and we have such a good body and we're so beautiful, or we have so much money. And it's kind of like we go around like being a bit haughty, like, looking down on others because we feel like we're so elevated and we're so good. And this is so it's like an exaggeration of feeling good, because it's okay to feel good with one's own qualities and the good things that we have, but this is like an exaggeration of that.
So that dini karsana di gyakpa siya dang dini ngager siya de soso le chi jidang lobjong inare yonten kar chi chala inare chi longcho kari na yakpo ji yoba de soso yakpo ji longcho ni dewa yakpo ji togar cheba la ani di gyakpa dang ngager dini shuchimbo chesona di kyen cheni ani shuma soso pekyo tata yabo dang matuya dang ani dini la ne chigres.
So here, haughtiness, haughtiness is it's a harmful mental factor that is very, very close, as I mentioned, to pride, that exaggerates this kind of feeling of having all these good things, right?
Dinita adana so namtse derisha namtse siade number 7 siade derisha namtse sidi shen semche jina ning tsewa meba ning ji je pha sha ni ti thabla pha anya no ba cheade number 7 siade mi shen pala no ba che tumge chila pha thopso dani kyo ti che sembatel ti che bi sem che du sembatela number 7 namtse sigdo.
Then the following mental factor is harmfulness. It can also be translated as violence, and it says unmerciful wish to harm other sentient beings involving anger. It is a lack of compassion, as in wanting to harm or to cause others to harm. So it's not only a mere lack of compassion, it's actually an active wish of harming others. So taking delight when seeing or hearing of harm to sentient beings. So this is violence or harmfulness.
So tinitati jid karsana ngocha me pa se adresha ngocha me pa se on di karere do se di ani ta so ga ani chi yonden de jimsen de che ne shan la ka kare chi marwa chewa ina ya tel zempa me pa che jo ge chewa de bi lo chi la kare sing do se na ngocha me pa sing do.
Then we have non-shame, so not having shame, and it's a non-avoidance, so not avoiding misdeeds on account of either oneself or the Dharma, and it is involved with attachment, hatred, and ignorance.
어디 체메 바시아 디지고도 체메 바리샤 체메 바시아 디안 다우다우 지리샤 김센더 셴 김센데 제바 셴 기치도 저도 김센데 체네 가르치기 두스나 어때라 아니 니바카리오나 니반 셈바메바 니바카리 요셀 주고나 때라 지금 젠토메바니 주자게 되니 로지라 아니 가르치고 체메바 당원세메바 체메바디 니가 냠도 그러시.
And normally, along with non-shame is explained non-embarrassment, because they are very similar. So they're kind of the same mental factor, but they take different reasons. So here it's always like not avoiding, either whether it's non-shame or non-embarrassment is always about not avoiding some sort of harmful behavior or negative behavior. But if it's non-shame, it's because of oneself. So we don't avoid it because we don't feel like, oh, a person like me shouldn't do things like that, right? Or a person like me that practices the Dharma shouldn't do things like that. This would be non-shame. However, non-embarrassment is the same, but instead of due to me, is due to others. So a person I can't do that because otherwise they will think, or they will look, they won't like me, or they won't they won't think good of me. So with taking others into account, we would avoid doing something, but here is the non-avoidance of that, and that is non-embarrassment.
다디 주고 무바들이야 무바 라운디 가렌도 세디 야한테 치다 뚜무라나 도 차시다 뚜무자 뚜무가 차시 인데게 간시라 아니 디왕게 가르치도 소소 리더 셈 탐체 바 지금 몽니 아니 어지 지두두도 소되게 어디리 제리장게 셈종 어디리 지라
Then the next mental factor is translated as lethargy. I would translate it as drowsiness. And drowsiness or lethargy is here is defined as a heaviness and unserviceability of the body and mind, and it's involved with ignorance. So it's a mental factor that arises from ignorance, and drowsiness is like feeling sleepy, right? Like feeling sleepy, and our body is heavy and our mind is heavy, and we cannot see clear, and we're not energized. It's like the contrary of being energized.
Dini goba se che goba. Goba se ate dina le chidang atsu goba la di namji yongda goba da jingwa se sem ni le wo goba se di kar se atsu dingi gomro de di jap tu tamba ani sem chigla ten di deo de lamsa ti kan ni mupa kan de mutu ni sem cholo la pa chon ro ge ji do di shor ro ge ji de la ani kar se di goba se di gobi wangi ani sem ne ma chu ni ani pa cholo di che je tini chilo goba se tini chire shas.
The next mental factor is excitement, and excitement is what does not allow us to concentrate on a single object and makes our mind wander and get distracted. And mental excitement is what constantly makes our mind go out from the object and get dispersed and distracted.
Oh, laso ti jugu tila mate parisha mate pala ite tabagi chidang tabagi dosho mate pa se atrisha mate pala udi tabi mumtu jo timu ki chashi yin denge tindi lochi la mate pala dosho e teba si di ichi wa ta kari kari chamni kari yan tili ichi ni teba che ate tanda ti ti ke dosho yin michi ni ani mong denge ga tindi timu ki chashi yin ba tindi chila mate pa sikindos.
Then we have non-faith, and non-faith is a non-conviction, non-clarity, and non-wishing. So here are the three types of faith of the mind with respect to virtuous phenomena. So it's related to ignorance. So it's the absence of faith.
Oh, di jugu nga su lelo resha lelo se ate lelo se yongda namji lelo se ate andina nyawa la so bi ngoyin bari she ni givi simla mutu lo la sha tan nyawa la so ba si di chi tonda chawa mayin ba chi la chawa mayin bi chi chi la ya ni shen ba de la cha ni ani givi simla chi choko chawa yang da ba chi wala ani mutu sim teni chi la chwa mi bi sim teni chi la lelo singdos.
Then we have laziness, and laziness is a non-enthusiasm of the mind for virtue engendered by the comfort of lying down, etc. So basically is feeling attached. Laziness comes about when we feel attached to activities that are not virtuous. We just indulge in those activities, and being attached to them, we don't engage in virtuous activities. So it's a lack of enthusiasm towards virtuous activities through attachment of non-virtuous activities or neutral activities.
Da chidang lelo tela tina lelo chidang mambu yore lelo tela yongda ka sum shek do kare do chawa chushi ki lelo se tang julupi lelo se ta chawa ngenshin ki lelo se tini mada sum chung do chidang tsu tonda do ta kar se chawa chushi ki de ta chi leka chen sani jel chego sani chego nani chego se ne pa shi cha ani tindi ki lelo chi ani chawa ngenshin ki lelo lawandu chi tonda yaa chi de chawa sambu chi dhubgu yo pa kanchi la tela muchi ni shamba chi la chawa ngenpa da tini chawa te su pepa tini li ju deke tini chi ni chawa ngenpa la shimbi ke tini yaa kaa chawa ngun tunga matuwa tila lelo cha de ya lelo chi ni ani julupi lelo se ya de tini tangpo te pa shuk chimbo de kya ka chi shuk chwe che ani nima kashi chi ne meba chani che mutu ni tini lelo yungo ra oti julupi lelo se lelo la mandawa tini mambu dus.
Then in relation to laziness, there are three types of lazinesses which are normally talked about. The first type is procrastination. So procrastination is a type of laziness that basically postpones the practice of virtue, always thinking, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow, but then tomorrow never comes. So this is a type of laziness, the laziness that procrastinates. Then there is the laziness that grasps or feels attached to negative or mundane activities, meaning activities that are not virtuous. So we're basically, when, for example, we're too busy to practice, to do any type of virtuous practice, this is considered laziness because we're constantly involved in activities which bring which which are not virtuous. So this is the second type of laziness. And the third type of laziness is the laziness of unconfidence. So here unconfidence thinking, oh, I can't do this, I do something one day, maybe 2 days, 3 days, and then, oh, I can't do this anymore. I'm not able, I'm not capable. So this is the third type of laziness, the laziness of unconfidence.
Tati jilda Andresha, Pame se Adresha. Pame la de Carindus and Numo Bata, Nibi Sonamla, Sim Musover, Payon Sotomi, any Tomachibulogila, Sigdus, Dagarsena, Sim de Numoda, any new Numo, but did you want the Pantu and a tele Simpson and one gen draw Machuni, Tichigo, the Tini Machepani, any co Sembakai in a Lutaya, Tinichila, any Pame se. Payu sena tili ani chiga sem tini nyumo chol drama chiga sem tata ani chig ton da demba chig kala tsu yonga cheba tela payu ndu chig do tini de chirisha.
Then there's the mental factor of non-conscientiousness, and non-conscientiousness is it is a looseness of the mind that does not cultivate virtuous qualities and guard the mind from the afflictions and misdeeds. It abides with attachment, hatred, ignorance, and laziness. So basically, it's the opposite of conscientiousness, taking care of the mind, guarding the mind so that affliction does not rise. So this is not just completely kind of allowing the mind to be in whatever affliction may come.
Tini dati shuku te jengi se ade jengi se ade jengi la ade chidan je se ade tempa mewa chandre de je se ode tadana jengi se ade semjon de kare zona nyumo bi mi ba tembe gone se nyumo magyewa ge tini cha mai ba tini chig mi ba tembe goni ta ani gewa la so bi sem tindi la ani ge sem la ani mi ba masar wa chini o tini ma karsina ta mari ba chendre o tini semjon jila jengi segda.
Then there is forgetfulness, and forgetfulness is an unclarity of the mind and the forgetting of virtuous objects through mindfulness of objects of the affliction. So here forgetfulness is not merely forgetting, is actually having one's mind abiding in afflictions, taking afflictions as the object, and therefore forgetting through that constant contact with the afflictions, forgetting virtuous objects. And there's a total forgetfulness, and there's a lack of clarity in the mind due to that.
Tinita chobji bare shiji mayimba. Shiji mayimba se on du kar lagu do sena shijin ki mamtu choji gosum chobala mishijin de jugbe ani shiram nyomo chen se ag to shiram nyomo chen se ta kyoda koro nal diri chi so shade ta shiji mayimba la on du chawati yutela juba chebala koi mishijin do yutela jugbe gone ani ko mong de glo tindi chile shag dos.
Then there comes the mental factor of non-introspection, and this is a wisdom that is concomitant with afflictions and engages unknowingly in activities of body, speech, and mind. So a mind is a wisdom concomitant with afflictions and engages unknowingly in activities of body, speech, and mind. So here is a mind that does not, a non-introspection is a type of mental factor that does not check body, speech, and mind, and allows body, speech, and mind to follow the afflictions because it's not checking whether it is following or whether it isn't following afflictions.
Tandaka naming de la swan la tamatira naming. O naming se at karin do sena nyumongi wanki se some mipala ani ayamar chibulo. Some mipala pate you at the telepaying is a naming chick do se de any cotten karin jugu la tela tata the machine semba martin semba chilapa samlo ramadan con do the tinichon de tele naming chick do se the naming se the tinicheresha.
Then comes distraction, and distraction is a scattering of the mind from its object of observation through the force of afflictions, and it is involved with attachment, hatred, and ignorance. So it's a mind that is scattered from its object of observation. So whenever we're observing an object, the mind gets distracted and it gets scattered everywhere except towards the object of observation.
Tatu sulu ani nyewi nyomo baase, nyenyu se nyewase, tanyaro nye se ta nyewu nyewase. Nyewi nyomo ba karichini labu yore se ne dapshin de cheon du dina le soa china ani sim mane jopo nyewar nyomo ba chepiga ani jimsengi ani nyenyu se dini shi shagre se sim nyomong se nyomong se ati chida dungar war chepa ga tondare sim dunga wa sim tindi chigi ngo jopo chewar chepi chegi yota tindi chigi chani ani nyewe nyomong ba se tindi dapshin do tindi songsha se.
And the etymology of these 20 mental factors, so we've covered the 20 mental factors, then the 20 secondary afflictions, the etymology of secondary afflictions. Secondary is an English translation. In Tibetan is called, they're called the close affliction. So close as in closeness, as in being close. Close to whom? Close to the root, the 6 root afflictions. And affliction has the meaning of provoke, that which provokes suffering. So it's the close mental factors that provoke suffering.
Tatagi kaza masu nyenyu nishu yore de nyenyu sayate kare re sayawa nyenyu nishi de ta shubsu ngo chandru chena tindi re sayang nga tu jini ta chigi chego ena kanyang kora chibta chini lomda tanda ya tesin re she koro re chik cheli tang tindi chik kare yore tindi chik re she kyan tindi mambu dus.
So this is the explanation of the 20 secondary afflictions. Since yesterday there was a request, of course, we could always go deeper and deeper, but this is an overview of the 20 secondary afflictions.
Hola so, ta tindi tu so kore yang chik misi ga chwanda yona chwaji tang nas.
So would you like to ask some questions about this topic?
Yes. Can Geshe explain something, how this relates to karma? Like, for example, when we have the 10 known virtues, there's a direct correlation how it creates karma. So I would be interested how this, like, secondary afflictions, if they directly influence our karma or in an indirect way, or...
Ta nyenyunni shutenzo ane tanda tenrechuni nane le yoreba. Tanda leda nyenyunni shu nigi ki dewa kare yores. Penangazo nyenyunni shutenzo la tene legi saktan kandida wores.
Yongta chinga tu le dan nyumong bi wange se aga kiwa lengre se ando ching mo so de aga ti le dan nyumong ni ti chidang ge chani le se di semba semjong khaka ji dan nyumong la di ya semjong khaka ji kuni de chen mada wa ji sem lo pe de mada wa ta de ba ni res yina yang tanda kari chi ge du se di nyumong ba ta gi ni nyumong ba da nyumong ba tu so wange ani le sa de zambala le duwa 맞아 둥을 끼치길래 둥을 다다 대화도 둥아니는 둥을 끼치가 주 레티니 사도 그래 세카이스나 딱이 로트서 참마 뉴몽인데 뉴몽세디 고 담보니 고 아니 가르스나 둥을 게 준로에 줘야가 티자 티다 아니 레니가 그냥 티사오샤지 레텔라 아니 마치와 가르찬도 둥을 끼치가 아니 레티니 사도 그래.
So in general, karma and afflictions are what keep us cycling in cyclic existence in samsara, right? Through the force of karma and afflictions, we cycle in cyclic existence. However, the karma and afflictions are 2 different types of mind. Karma being, remember that karma is the intention to act, and afflictions are the mental states from which we act, from which we intend to act. So here the secondary afflictions are still afflictions, so there are different mental states that make us take some sort of action. And the type of action that we will take will not be a virtuous action, so it will be a non-virtuous action, since we're motivated by one of the 20 secondary afflictions, and therefore this will provoke unhappiness. It will be the cause of suffering, because afflictions are always a cause of suffering. They are the cause of suffering. So here we have a mind of a secondary afflictions which make us act, and therefore we will experience suffering as a result.
I might want to explain where this question comes from, because we had a discussion recently about if ignorance of, like, we talk a lot about intentions in Buddhism and about how ignorance is one of the root afflictions, and now we talked about lack of awareness. So how does that create karma, in the sense, like, if we just pretend we have a good intention? We often think ourselves that we have a good intention. Like, let's, for example, say I'm a soldier, then my intention is to protect my people, and my intention is not to harm the others by killing them.
Okay.
I would call this a lack of awareness or some level of ignorance. And
Okay.
I've heard some people say that then it doesn't create karma because you don't have the intention to harm.
Ah, I see. Okay, I understand. Lasso. Tene chiwak tenderes. Tadu ledang gyundregi kolares. Kain sena. Ngazo mi ta zo di gewa dami gewa susugi kunon la dene gewa dami gewa chagirebas. Susu ledi gewa dami gewa chagiras. Ina yang ngazo samsan la nga kuno yabo yes samdan samgi du ina yang one china kuno yabo yomare pena magmi chikche. Mami chigi ane nga rangi lungba chikba denzo nga rangi sok kyab jeans chezan kyab yala nye mi shenda la se jeans nye magla mag kyab jeans chezan hora nga kuno yabo yo samsu ta yore ina yang ngone chena mi shenda yang se gire bas chezan tila tene kuno di sambore samu mare sani con pechi da tanda pena magmi tenzo yang mishebe wangi ani kunlo yabu ye ki samsu peche ye sares mishebe wangi kunlo dukcha chig ye na ani le dukcha sa ire sagi mares
Yo lo so. De chidang demba tagarare to so kantis kono koranga hama ko ni kono tagaran kini koranga de kono yapo yin ngeda ngoni jakap dang mari dang mombu chigla ngoni penya dang mombu chikobya donda yin kono yapo yin samni drone ani ani mukpage nama antinga drone museba la so batini le dukcha sa shana ani ti la ani karsuyo 가리리그리 레 두아사그리 야사그리 세온디 쟁구차니 레 두아사 무세샤디 레 두아 마토 사그 마레데 예나야 아니 지금 제당의 지금 자빈 가서 시신데 제한 나신 거 아니 가서는 두바 치아다 디네 먹기와 치아요 말에 마토 제당 레 두아사가 요레스 예나야 지금 미치기로지당 미치금 미자니제 세르고 여봐 학권이 그것도 정말 소적이야게 돈달래 아니 거기 미데 그런 거 돈이 세바 이나니 안에 텔레 두바 침보스랑 요마 메바로 송 요레스.
So what you're saying, it's true. There are some people who, like, for example, the example that you've stated is very clear, where people think that they have a good intention, soldiers who think they have a good intention by protecting their country, protecting their people, but then at war, they commit lots of negative actions, right? Lots of harmful actions. So it is true that these people that, due to their own ignorance or lack of understanding, they go thinking that they're doing something good, but instead they're actually harming others. It is true they do not accumulate as negative karma as those who actually knowingly commit that action. So there is a difference in the heaviness, in the heaviness of that karma. However, they still accumulate negative karma because they are harming other sentient beings, even if they think it's with a good intention, but they still provoking that harm, right? So they are accumulating negative karma, but they don't accumulate as much or as heavy negative karma as those who harm others intentionally and knowingly.
But doesn't that then mean that when I'm pretty ignorant and I never think about what effects my behavior has on other people, that I create less negative karma than when I'm aware of these things?
Tendre yina tam marik pachemba yebe mi denzo mi kashiki ki susugi chedan samlo tangi yomare nga mishela negi yomegi gorla kyone samlo tangi yomare wa konzo pet momba nanola zu desha ra dendre yina konzo ane le duche to sagi yore yina ya sheshimbe chebe mi dela nashi 아니 사기요 말에 왜 스탠드를 왜
no tagarade chida ngato gari inaya 지금 자니는 원이 마신이 제샤와 있나 아니 레코라 두아지 차데 요나야 아니 니바데 시신데 제반 하신 게 니바 요 말레스 아니 가서 가이나 지단 팀라데 지 남디 요다가 지 토나야 그때 가리데도 그 하마고니 제도 가리친도 세디 거기거니 하마고니 제샤나나 가리나 니바 총아 요바나시 지바 송고 요레스 데리가도 레게도 가르 좀나야 아니 그 배타니니 마신이 제잖아. 그 내가 두개 차요데 잡아 찍바래데 얘네야. 뒤주마 니바다 틈도 뒤번도 그뒤 뒤부터 키워데 잠바. 그 뒤스 아니 당가만하시 니바 쳔보요 말레스.
That is correct. The person who commits a negative action totally unknowingly, it's going to accumulate less negative karma than a person that knowingly hurts someone, like intentionally goes and hurt someone. So, and this is the case, this is also applies to mundane law. So in law, normally a person that's being judged, if the person has harmed intentionally with an intention of harming the other person, that person will get a much more severe sentence than a person who has harmed another one unknowingly. So intention plays a very big role.
My question is in the direction, isn't that then like a bit dangerous to learn about all the things? Like when I now study about Buddhism and I'm aware of all the negative things, but I still have the habit of doing them. And then no, it's like a serious question, because that would mean I could not create this kind of karma when I'm just ignorant, but now I create more karma just because I study Buddhism.
Geshe dendre yina nambe chela lobjon chea nyankat sabu marves kainse na nga nambe chela lobjon che ne ane da nga chawa da nebe chawa mambu chegi yoba shinenge hago tugiyo ra ngama nge kyune shingi me danda nge shingi yina yan da duyo nga danda neba chebe chawa mare neba chegi gongshi dadung ye danda pantugi mindu yina yanga danda sheshindu chebe yi songsa danda ngama le duga sayus da dende yina ane nambe chela lobjon che nyanga chawa mare wes
어, 레레레. 그다음 갑툭다나 딘디라고 지래 뭐니 가마 딘디딘이 채나 니바 두아 연구였다 아니 니바 첨부 사요 달래 두아 사요 하 고요 말에 다 뜻이 시원디 아니 니바 차 요바다 뜻 하 고요래 이나야 아니 그 바기 딜레가다 마치니 간 두고 말에 손사 아니 딜레 담보니 마시나 야가 말에 라데레 딩 이나야 카르카투다리 딘이 지어래 그 뭐만 갈래 라chter 치니 드나 그 뭐만 그 가르모 가리는 타투니 좀 원이 둥아 매바지다 양타바지는 로 구구요나 아니 니버데 티가래 주니 드나 야요레스 단다 그 니바 요바지 시행의 요장 그 sem나지 딘디기 니바지 요바 다니 한마리 니바 차 요새 시타야 되게 저 갈래 땡땡 딘디 자와들 주기야 용어를 주고 그래스 때 sonda 자세게 아니 가리어레스나 니 나주의 장이 제바이나 야요레스
What you're saying is true. Like at first, they might seem like perhaps it's better not to study Buddhism because then we become conscious of all the harm that we've been doing all along. But now we're conscious before we weren't. So before we weren't accumulating so much negativity, and now we are because now we know, and we could continue to do these actions, right? So in a way, you're right because. Like at first, it might seem like that. However, if your intention, if your desire, if your wish is to actually ultimately get rid of suffering, this is the best way to do it. The best way is to become conscious of your own actions and gradually start changing your actions instead of always staying in ignorance. Because if you always stay in ignorance, you'll continue to accumulate negativity. Conscious and you start doing all of then gradually it'll become just easier and easier. So I think ultimately, like speaking in long term, is better to study Buddhism than not to study Buddhism.
And does he maybe have advice for us how we can counterbalance the more negative karma we might create by being aware? Because until we are enlightened, it might take a while. So what can we do in between when we are aware but we still have the habit and we are not at the place where we can like overcome this habit? Is there something that we can like do to improve?
Tende yina ngazo tanda ani sheyon saba mambo le ye za ngazo ani noba kare chegi yome ngazo hago de ye ani she shindu ngazo tadun chawa tende chegi ye chisan le duga sa de ye chisan geshe la tanda ngazo la le du cha mambo masaya gi chedu labcha tende yebe siamena ani yamena gewa saya gi chedu le ducha shera masaya gi chedu da gewa manga saya gi chedu tene lapcha kya yebes sunya yebes
Hola so tatu de dini le duwa ma masaya tapshi ta ani le gewala mambu ju tuwa tapshi do de ta chi tu nang che jinge ji na che de le nyamle yabu ji chia tapshi de kare yore se de ti kare go du se na tu nipa te sa sha na mambu dunga mambu chi ge du se ga ti nyami nipa de mambu thong na ani nipa le jing ni nipa le cha ni ani ko 디 자와도 마치야라 데스 펜도 용금에 줘서 되니 뚜뚜 소소가 제대하게 니바다 껴인바도 또 뭔지 야부지 제 돈나 갈래 땡땡디 교와 땅거리 땡땡 땅거리 마도 양코 니바 친구 인바 하 고신데 테마 찍도 니즈 쇼나야 지니 다트 땡땡 뭐지 대타고 치레 니레 삼니 주주라 땅투모 용해서 땡땡디 갈래 рем베 람나 아니 기당 나추나리 때서 렘바 몸부 쉐 요리다 알레 네캅 티니 시체 드롬다스
I think that the best way to practice at the moment is that now that you know that through harmful actions, then much suffering will be experienced, not wishing to experience. So always keeping in mind that the result of those actions are going to be suffering. So keeping that in mind, I think that's going to help you to abstain from doing certain types of actions, right? Because you don't want to experience the result. So keeping in mind always the result of the action that you're going to do is going to help you not to do that harmful action. And then slowly, I think that then slowly, even if you commit certain mistakes, because it's normal that we all do, you will know that, oh, if I do this again and again, it will just, the suffering that we'll experience will be very big, and therefore I'm going to start changing this, and then gradually, I think slowly you will be able gradually to change your conduct, and then it will just be easier and easier. And of course, there is lots to know and lots to study and lots to improve. So I think meanwhile, this is the best way.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rika. Geshe la nga zo khowi min du.
어건 당연히 가셔도 라서 아니 지도 뒤쪽에 좀 사샤니 맞아 드린 차대 이제 참자죠 아니 차니사 많이사 바상을 야마도 제용스 또제 참말을 또제
So now we're going to finish class here and we'll meet again on Friday. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
라서
Teacher Linda.
라서 tuche
Bye bye.